Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wingcat Sports. Since it's the Lions bye week, we got a little bit different this week. We're going to talk about what we think the Lions have done so far this year. They are winning the division at 6-2 so far. Jared Goff has had a decent year. 200 completions for 293 attempts, a 68% completion percentage, and has already thrown over 2,000 yards on the year, halfway through the year. He has 12 TDs to 5 interceptions. So that has been good, pretty good on the passing side. And Montgomery and Gibbs tandem has also looked really good on the offense.
Well, as a guy and Michael attest to this, since we've been following this team since a lot of people before they were even born, 40 plus years, to be 6-2 at this point, I'm ecstatic. I really am. I couldn't ask for more. The division isn't so great, but hey, you play the guys the teams that are in front of you. We have a pretty solid offensive line when it's healthy. That's the key to this whole thing, is staying healthy. And our running game seems to, when Montgomery come back, maybe Gibbs keeps up what he's doing, and we can continue that. But all in all, like I said, you can't be upset. Usually this time of year we're talking about the draft, and have been doing so for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. At 6-2, the teams they've lost to are both really good teams. Baltimore proved that today by beating the team that also beat us with Seattle
rather handedly.
So I mean, they haven't lost a game that you would feel like they should have won.
Yeah.
They've played really well.
Yes.
They've beaten everybody they're supposed to. The rest of the way looks fairly easy, although I'm still not convinced Minnesota is out of the woods. So,
well, surprisingly, what they did today.
Yeah. I think when you look at it, as much as people say Gibbs has not been being used, Gibbs actually has more rushing yards than Montgomery. He's at 400 so far on the year.
I mean, most of those,
Montgomery's at 385.
Did most of them come in one game?
Pretty much.
Against the Raiders, which, hey, fine.
With 20 less attempts, 20 less carries than Montgomery. But again, Montgomery's been hurt the past 2 weeks, so he's been able to catch up. But I don't think you're going to have 1,000-yard rusher this year like we did last year.
If we don't have 1,000-yard rusher, I hope they combine for at least 1,600, 1,700.
They should be close. I can see them both being around the 800 mark. But with the averages so far through 8 games, they're both around 400 yards.
Right,
so they're both going to be around 800.
You're also including Reynolds in that, and they're certainly a run by committee team. Each has its own role, and that's fine. You know what? As long as we're getting some production out of it,
that's the key.
That's all we care about.
I can say I think St. Brown this year will have a 1,000-yard receiving season because he's already at 660. Yeah. So I think he could hit 1,000 yards throughout the rest of the year. Laporta, maybe if things pick up, he is at 434. So
currently he's the best. I want to say he's the best tight end in the NFL right now, isn't he?
Got to be top 3, I would think.
He is doing very good
up there.
I could see Jared Goff.
We finally have a solid tight end we can throw to.
With the teams we have in front of us, Jared Goff could very well hit 30 touchdowns at the end of the year. He's only at 12, but you don't have that bad competition ahead of you, and he's definitely going to get over 4,000.
I might put him in my fantasy games.
He should be. Yeah, everything's looking pretty good. It's just coming down to those final 3 weeks when we play Minnesota
and staying healthy
twice and staying healthy. I think the rest of the way, we should. I just cannot see us losing less than 12 games.
I don't know about you, but if we lose to San Diego, to the Chargers, I always call them San Diego. They'll always be San Diego. If we lose to the Chargers and we lose to Dallas, I ain't going to sweat it.
No, those are
4 losses to be 13-4.
Well, right. And you even have another.
You don't want to lose to your division rivals. You shouldn't lose to the Bears. You shouldn't lose to the Vikings.
So when we look ahead at the rest of the year, right, they did 6-2. The rest of the year, they are at LA, which they should win. Mostly, I think
we all agree. Did you see how LA played today? I mean, Stafford wasn't there, but
no, the Chargers.
The Chargers.
Oh, okay.
You don't play the Rams. You play the Chargers.
I'm getting confused.
So you go play LA in LA, and you could beat them. I would say this might be the one game where you should win, where you would lose.
I might have called this a loss at the beginning of the
He
season.
did, but the Chargers have not played well all year. They have one. Herbert has played well. I mean, or how do you say it? Herbert or whatever.
Herbert.
Herbert,
he has
Herbert.
played really well. But the rest of the team
Lions could have
hasn't.
had him.
Coaching sucks. Yes, they can beat us. They're at home. But if we get past that game, it should be clear sailing. Till we play Minnesota, and hopefully by then.
And a key here,
Get it
me
right
and
there.
Harold were discussing it the other day, is from here on out, you're going to play one outdoor game in the cold.
Right.
One outdoor game.
One outdoor game, and that's against Chicago in December.
Yes.
So that's also a benefit that you don't have to go somewhere and freeze your freaking nuts off.
True.
So yeah, you start out in LA. You, like I said, you could win. You should win that. I think.
Should.
Now that could be the one where you should win, where you lose. Go play the Bears at home. Should beat them, no problem. Play the Packers on Thanksgiving. Should beat them, no problem.
I'm gonna miss it.
Then you go to New Orleans. This would be the other game. Even though New Orleans isn't good, I could see you losing. I could see you losing in New Orleans, even though you should beat them.
I don't. It's you're probably going to lose one or, like I said, one or two games
That you
probably
thought you were gonna win. Yeah.
shouldn't win.
Then you go to Chicago. Even though it's going to be cold, you should beat them. No
I'll
problem.
be more upset if they lose any of the division games.
I think
I just will.
I think they should start Teddy Bridgewater that game because it'll be cold and just run everywhere.
If we clinch the division early,
You
with
probably
a few
won't.
weeks left, then I would say play Bridgewater, but not now.
So I don't think you'll clinch the division until you play Minnesota. I don't think it's so. When you go play the Broncos, you should beat the Broncos at home. I think
God, yes, you should.
Christmas Eve would be the earliest I see you clinching the division. In my
Well,
opinion.
that's only a few weeks away.
Yeah.
And you play Minnesota. I think if you beat, that's going to be the game. If you beat Minnesota, you clinch the division. If you don't, you don't.
Is that the game at home?
No, that's the game away.
Okay, game away.
And then you go to the Dallas, and that is the game that you are probably going to lose on the rest of your schedule. That is the one I'm going
I
to say
call
is
that
the
as a
loss.
loss.
Even though
I
you
call that
can
as a
beat
loss.
Dallas, I think you can very much beat Dallas. But that is probably the game where you're going to fully, at the end of the year, you're going to have to prove that you are a good team. You are going to be a team that can win in the playoffs with how you play against Dallas.
Yes.
Because if you win all these games, you go to Dallas and you have another Baltimore before you go to the playoffs.
That's true.
It's not going to look good.
And as far as playoffs go, I mean, I'm being realistic. I don't think we're a Super Bowl team. I don't think we're going to get there this year. I would love it, but you just got to win your division. That should be an easy goal to achieve. Host a playoff game, win a playoff game. That's all. That's for right now. That's all I'm asking. Anything else is gravy.
So leading to the worst case scenario in my mind, right? The Vikings are still in and up until basically the last game of the year when you play them at home.
How the hell could they be?
They don't have a difficult schedule.
I know, and they have no quarterback.
Joshua Dobbs ain't that bad.
I'll have to watch the highlights because
you're right. I mean, all that tells me is Atlanta's putrid.
Yeah, you should just think,
how do you not beat a team? Quarterback a backup that just signed with the team and is barely at any time to even learn any of the plays.
Just Jason Ritter is worse.
No, Heineke played.
Heineke is worse.
But when you go look at the
worse.
So when you look ahead, right, and you're
Garbage.
thinking, I think the one team in the division is the Vikings, right? I believe we can all agree that the Vikings.
It. I'm not worried about the Bears or God the Packers.
So if you're trying to think, do the Vikings have a chance to make a run and make it a little bit interesting? They do.
Yeah.
They play the Saints at home. They could beat the Saints.
Is a middle of the road team,
along with the Vikings.
Nothing to be feared.
Right?
I would actually give the edge to right now probably the Saints in that game.
And then they play the Broncos. They could beat the Broncos.
Yes.
They play the Bears. They could beat the Bears. They play the Raiders.
Us three could beat the Broncos.
They play the Raiders. So they can still win their next 4 games.
Yes.
The game that's why I said they could still be in the running.
Yeah.
Look, the Broncos
beat
beat Kansas City. The Broncos beat Kansas City, so they could beat
Well, I
Minnesota
mean-
just as easily.
But I'm just saying,
Have
when
no
you go
answer for
through
that
it,
one. I don't know how that happened.
their next tough game on their schedule is against the Bengals the week before they play us in Cincinnati. That is going to be
Yeah.
the game where we might the earliest we could clinch it looking at the Vikings schedule would be the week before Christmas.
We need to hope that some of these teams beat the Vikings.
If any of those if they lose any of their next
And they should.
Yeah.
four, if they lose any of the next
They
four,
should.
you could feel a lot more confident.
I would be shocked
Even
if they
though
don't
everyone
lose
is-
2 of the next 4.
They could.
I'm shocked that they didn't lose today. I can't believe
Well,
Atlanta,
like you,
a team
yeah.
winning their division, can't beat a backup quarterback and a crappy defense that the Minnesota Vikings have.
I will have to watch the highlights to that one because it wasn't televised in our area.
Yeah, it was.
Was it?
The end of it was.
Game?
The end of it
I didn't
was.
see it. I was tortured watching the Rams and the
Right.
Yeah,
I don't
Packers.
think it was. I didn't see
The
it.
end of the game was.
Oh,
You could've-
was it?
Yeah, you could have saw the comeback.
Great.
But and basically once the Vikings hit the Bengals, that's where they had to play the Bengals, us, Packers, us as their last
Well,
4 games of the year.
the way the Bengals are playing right now, I would say that is a loss. For
So I'm just saying the Vikings could come into the week before playing us and be 9-5. Well, we are also 1 game ahead of them at that point,
God, I hope we're a few
or 2 games ahead of them at
God.
that point. We might
Yeah.
be.
None of this stuff really. I mean, all these games are probably going to be tough wins. You know, we're not going to go out there, and, slaughter everybody. I mean, these games are always close. It's unpredictable. Like you said, you had a team like Kansas City, a 2-loss team, lose to Denver,
Yeah,
Right.
which is a team they should have beat by 40 points.
and
We'll
look,
see.
You can't just assume you're going to go out there and dominate.
and looking
Well,
at the
Every game
standings,
matters. Every game matters.
you are only technically after this week you'll only be a game and a half up on the Vikings.
Am I hearing? I thought I heard that Fields went down today.
Again.
I don't think Fields went
He-
out
well, he
today.
even
It was
played.
just Bagent. Bagent was out today.
Or
He was
Bajan.
playing.
I'm
He
sorry,
didn't
guys.
go out today. I don't believe. I didn't hear anything like that. I know the Vikings
Okay.
quarterback went out, and that's
Yeah.
why Dobbs played. They were not winning until Dobbs came into the game.
That's right.
That is what happened. But when you're looking at it standing wise, you're only a game and a half up on the Vikings. You should go 2 games up by the time they get hit their bye week. And that's
Right.
why I said, depending on how you play the rest of the year and how Minnesota plays, Minnesota's going to be in the game the whole rest of the season. You
I
cannot
wanna be
sleep on the
4
Vikings.
games up by the time we play.
Well, you would have clinched by then. And
Well, let's hope.
and
I
since
mean,
why-
I would love to be.
why
I'd
we're
like to have clinched it right now.
And while we're talking about standings, at the moment, you would be ahead of. We're currently still second in the NFC. Even though, right, we're not going for the higher seeds. Technically, we just want to win our division.
So-
you are still ahead of San Francisco because you have the tiebreaker. You're 6-2. They're 5-3.
Okay.
So you basically at the moment control your destiny for second place in the NFC. If you keep winning, you're second place.
Philly's number 1
And Philly's number 1, and they are playing Dallas today.
right now, which we are watching on this big screen right over here.
So
You
if
can't see
Philly loses to Dallas, I believe you would hold the number 1 spot just because of divisional standing.
Are we talking home playoff advantage throughout the?
That's what
playoff?
we're hoping for because we do now.
Yay!
If I cannot confirm that, but I believe that's how these standings go. They start with your division as a tiebreaker,
Yes.
and then they move on. Your record in the division,
well,
and then
your
we move.
overall record probably more
well, overall, but if you're tied.
Right.
So your division
Then the
record would be your
division,
tiebreaker.
than the conference.
So the division record, we have only played 1 division opponent, and we're 1-0. So if Philly loses to Dallas today, they have a 2-1 record in their division, and we would hold first place in the
Okay.
NFC
Yes.
if they lose today.
Hey, I'm all for it.
And again, 2 weeks ago, when they got crushed by the Ravens, everyone was like, well, screw it. Now we're not going to get the number 1 seed. It is still in play if you feel like
Yes.
talking about it. Now, do I expect them to be the number 1 seed? No. I think Philly would be ahead of us.
Yeah.
If
gotta be
Seattle wakes up,
realistic
they
about
might be
things.
ahead of us. But you
I
should
think-
win your division to have a home playoff game.
I think we're still worried because we see Dallas, or not Dallas, but Minnesota, and it doesn't. They're not slowing down. We were hoping by this time that they'd lose today without their without their quarterback, but of course, Atlanta sucks.
Well,
I
like
knew
I said,
Dobbs was gonna be good
you
enough.
have to take from here on out, especially the division games. You have to take them seriously. They're not pushovers.
Right.
no
So
one's a pushover.
No.
one final prediction. What is your prediction for the rest of the season? For the next 8 games or 9 games, because we played 8. What is their record?
I'll stand by what I said at the beginning of the year, and that would be 14-3.
You want to end with 14-3. What are you
Yes.
saying, Dad?
I'm going to say
We're going to lose to Dallas.
I'm going to say 6-3, so 12-5.
You're gonna go with 12-5. I think they will lose 2 more games. I think Dallas will be a loss. It might be a toss-up between LA. I think it's going to be a toss-up. You're either going to lose to LA, New Orleans, or a game in Minnesota. I think you'll lose the game in Minnesota potentially, depending on how the
So
running
you
goes.
think they're going to
God,
go
I
7-2
hope not.
the rest of the way?
I think they'll go
Can't lose a
7-2
division
the
game,
rest of the
though.
way,
Cannot lose a
13-4?
divisional
which will
game.
give 13-4.
All right, so you got 13. I got 12-5. You got 14.
14
Let's
and
see.
3.
We'll see how the year
Let's
ends.
put $100 down each.
No, we're not going to do that. With that being said, though, if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe. do all
I
that
have
fun
$100.
stuff.
They don't.
Oh, I have way more than $100.
Oh yeah, so do I.
I can borrow $100.
But with that being said, Ray, if you want, like, comment, subscribe, let us know what you think in the comments. Until next time, see everybody
Go Lions.
soon.